Okie dokie, boys and girls. Today is day 247 of bulking to 75 kilos, and it's gonna be a push workout. Now, I'm mainly gonna do normal ass push-ups, some planche in the beginning, but it's gonna be a challenging workout, not only in the physical sense, which it always is, but also in the mental sense, Because these push-ups, I've realized, especially the last training, I'm fucking weak, My chest is weak. And I have trouble dealing with things like that, I have trouble accepting the fact that I'm weak, and then I just end up like overexerting myself in certain ways, which affects my training negatively. That's also how, the running happened, I was telling myself, well, you're not that weak. You can run 10 kilometers a day and still squat, you're not that weak that you wouldn't be able to do that. And then I end up doing it, and it turns out I am that weak, And it's the same for push-up, where like last time I told myself, let's go for, 25 sets, emom style, and let's aim for 20 push-ups each sit, totaling 500 push-ups, right? That was kind of, where I thought I was at, but then I ended up half-assing some of the push-ups and still only getting to 11 sets. Now that's me not being able to accept that I'm weak. And when you can't accept that you're weak, you're going to end up doing training that's not the most beneficial to you. So in order to make my chest strong, I have to make push-ups, I have to do push-ups that are deep enough, because it's the deep position in the push-up where you hit your chest, I have to, make sure that as I get tired, I don't start half-assing it by only doing the top half of the position. So what I'm gonna do today is I'm gonna put some plates under my chest, and basically I'm gonna make sure that every time I do a push-up, I touch those plates, and then basically I extend my arms completely. So the lockout and the touch at the bottom, they are a must, and I will not go further in the push-up if I'm not able to do that. In that way, I can kind of check with myself, like, hey, these are proper push-ups. These are the ones that you should keep doing, and if I'm not able to do those anymore, well then that's how strong I really am, or how weak. So last time I was cheating a little bit in the push-up, I feel like. Today, that's the challenge, Today, the challenge is to avoid it. Maybe I'll get less reps than last time. Maybe I'll get the same. Maybe I'll get more, but at least the push-ups will be proper, they will be of good quality. That's the goal. And that's why it's gonna be fucking difficult, because it takes, some mental capacity as well, It requires you to be strict with yourself and honest with yourself in order to do that. At least I have a lot of trouble with that, But anyway, I'm gonna head outside. I'm gonna do some planche first. It's been 8 days since the planche PR, and I haven't done any planche since, because I wanted to prevent an overuse injury in my forearm. But yeah, I'm gonna get back on the planche horse as well. Just the push workouts will stay focused on like normal push-ups, because I do want to get those strong. With some planche in the beginning, like a couple sets, I think I'll do 3 sets. It won't hurt, So let's get going. Holy shit, I've gotten weak. Okay, so obviously I've gotten a bit weaker since last time, but that's not the point I want to make now. The point I want to make is like the planche, the hold has been completed, and the push-ups have been entered into the mix. So naturally the priority of the planche is going to go down a little bit. Now that doesn't mean I'm not going to train a planche anymore, right? I love the planche, right? It's kind of a love-hate relationship, but a lot of love lately, so I want to keep doing it. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some combos, because combos are fun and I want to have some fun with the planche training. But what I'm also going to pay attention to is to always start my combo with a little hold, because what I feel like can happen in like planche combos is you spam push-ups and then you go immediately into presses, and when you come down you don't really hit the planche position, so on so forth. And like you can do these long combinations without actually holding the planche or being able to hold the planche for a long time. So for me, that's something that would definitely happen. I'm like prone to use momentum and stuff like that. So in order to prevent it, I'm just gonna put in this rule, hold the planche in the beginning, and that will prevent myself from like not being able to hold the planche, So if you have these things happening to you where you're not training in the correct way and you know it from yourself, but you don't really know how to fix it, try to come up with some kind of rule in your training that prevents you from slipping into, well, the slippery slope. Anyway, I'm gonna do the remaining sets and then move on to the push-ups. Holy shit. You know, imagine I can get to 5-5-5 for this kind of combo, 5 push-ups, 5 presses, inspired by Valentin Callis, of course, but I'm gonna aim for longer and longer combos right now, because that just seems like a lot of fun to me, so let's go. Let's move on to some push-ups. Alrighty, so the push-ups, like I said, I'm gonna put some plates under my chest so that I can hit them, and I know for sure that I'm going deep enough without my belly flopping on the ground as well. I could just go to the ground, but then my belly kind of hits the floor first before my chest. I guess that's something I can do when my chest gets bigger and it hits the ground before my belly does. But for now, I have a baby chest, flat chest, so I'll have to use like the weights to make sure that I'm going deep enough. But once I hit the weight, I just push myself up. I want to make sure to lock out completely every time, and that way I ensure proper push-up form. I'm gonna do emom style, just like last time, 20 reps every minute, just like last time, and basically see how many sets I can go. Last time I did 11 sets, but I do think I cheated a little bit at the end. Today the goal is just to not cheat the reps until the end. That would be the main goal. So let's just see how far we can take it. Okay, 10 seconds left. I think I'm gonna keep it at 13 sets today. 13 sets of 20 push-ups. That's not too bad. That's 2 more than last time. And I think I was able to be strict, at least on the way down. Perhaps I'll have to check for the lockout, but all in all, a good result. Now what I'm gonna do, this took only 13 minutes, If you're looking for the perfect, efficient 10-minute chest workout, look no further than this. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rest up for, I'd say, more than 5 minutes at least. And then I'm gonna do a couple more sets of 30 push-ups, But in between, I'm gonna allow myself to rest longer. So I'll maybe do a set every 4 minutes. If I can do 4 sets of that, I'll be quite happy, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, so the training is done and I'm pumped as fuck. There's probably like some clip of me flexing the chest during the workout, because after those 13 sets, I was just completely spent, and these push-ups, I mentioned it in the beginning, I wanted to pay attention to the form, and that's very important. It's something that I'm kind of taking from a bodybuilding friend right now. Like, she's always paying attention to which muscle she's using, because when you're in bodybuilding, you want to sculpt your body, like that's the final goal, right? So you have to use your muscles correctly, to really bring out every ounce of power that you have in them, right? To bring them to the limit. And that's something I took from that and try to apply it to this training, because for me my chest is weak. So if I want to improve my weak chest, I have to drive it to its absolute limit. And you don't do that by just doing some half-assed push-ups, going down halfway, going up not completely, right? That will not target my chest correctly. I will just end up using the muscles that are strong already, which is my shoulders and my triceps. I think it's frustrating, right? During these push-ups, like the only thing that's really at its limit is my chest. And I'm used to just bringing everything to the limit at the same time. But then you kind of like develop these weak points. And, it's frustrating that you're like hitting your limit on like one body part only, but that's also like the purpose, right? Because that's how you bring out your weak part. That's, you drive your weak part to the limit, and then, it recovers and it becomes stronger. It's the same what I was mentioning with exercise order the other day, right? If you do multiple exercises, you have to recover from all those exercises, right? And if you want to focus on one exercise, it's going to be more difficult to do that if you're doing other shit as well. And the same thing is true, if you want to, for muscle building, if you want to bring out your weak chest, for example, like me, if you're also using all your other muscles and bringing them to the limit, you're going to have to recover as well. It takes away from the recovery for your weak part. So for me, it's not so much about muscle building, but rather about building a strong chest. But it works the same way, because you try to get stronger and you're going to build muscle. Try to build muscle, you're going to get stronger. It kind of works in both ways, right? Of course, if you focus on one, that's one is going to develop more. But, for me, I want to be very good at these push-ups, so I have to do them correctly in the first place, right? So it's very important to not, or like, I guess, to keep your ego in check, because for me it's easy to, like, it's a slippery slope, the form will just get worse and worse and worse. But I'm trying to prevent that right now, and doing it one time, that's not a challenge, right? Just like working out one time is not a challenge, just like doing something for a week is not a challenge, right? Because there is an end to it, right? The challenge is to do something like this consistently, where you have the mindset of, okay, I'm gonna keep myself in check, I'm gonna do it correctly so that I can get stronger in the correct way. So that's going to be a challenge going forward as well. But anyway, very happy with today's training. I feel like the form was better than last time. I got more reps than last time. I did some planche. Now I can just have some dinner and recover, So all good things come to an end, at least for today, Tomorrow I'll be back with another workout.